Part 3, The Resonance Protocol. The Language of the Unknown. Dr. Gabriel Reyes stood before a wall of holographic displays, his fingers tracing the intricate quantum patterns that defied every known principle of communication. As the world's leading xenolinguistics expert, he had dedicated his career to understanding languages, but this was unlike anything he had ever encountered. The underground communication hub beneath the Andes Mountains was a fortress of technological marvel. Layers of quantum-shielded servers hummed with an energy that seemed to vibrate between reality and something else entirely. Breaking the impossible code. "It's not a language," Gabriel muttered, reviewing the 1000th analysis of the mysterious signal. "It's a living system of communication." Each quantum packet carried multiple layers of meaning. What appeared to be a simple mathematical sequence would suddenly transform, revealing hidden complexities that suggested a form of intelligence far beyond human comprehension. Dr. Emma Wrightsier's voice crackled through the communication link. "The signal is adapting faster than our most advanced neural networks can track. It's learning, Gabriel. With every observation, with every attempt to decode it." The resonance breakthrough. A breakthrough came during the 72nd consecutive hour of analysis. Gabriel noticed a pattern within the quantum fluctuations, a rhythmic pulse that seemed to synchronize with human brain wave frequencies. "It's not trying to communicate to us," he realized suddenly. "It's trying to communicate through us." The quantum signal began to generate holographic projections that defied traditional dimensional understanding. Geometric shapes that folded and unfolded, creating landscapes of pure information that seemed to exist simultaneously in multiple states. The dimensional invitation. Commander Elena Novak watched from the secondary monitoring station, her military precision challenged by the sheer impossibility of what was unfolding. "We're dealing with something that doesn't just send a message," Gabriel explained, his voice trembling with excitement and fear. "It creates a bridge. A resonance between consciousness and dimensional existence." The signal was revealing something profound, a method of communication that transcended language, technology, even the concept of communication itself. It was less about sending information and more about creating a shared experiential space. The threshold of understanding. As the quantum patterns intensified, Gabriel realized they were approaching a threshold of understanding that humanity had never conceived possible. The signal was an invitation, not to a place, not to an event, but to an entirely new way of perceiving existence. "We're being asked to listen," he whispered, "not with our ears, not with our instruments, but with something deeper. Something we've forgotten we possess." The underground communication hub fell silent. The quantum signal continued its mesmerizing dance, a conversation waiting to be understood, a bridge between known reality and something far more profound. Humanity stood on the edge of a discovery that would redefine everything they thought they knew about consciousness, communication, and the very nature of reality itself. The silent desert. The Atacama Desert stretched before Dr. Rowan Sinclair like an endless canvas of silence. Razor-sharp rocks and rust-colored sands created a landscape so stark it seemed to swallow sound itself. Here, at the most isolated research station on Earth, Rowan had dedicated the last 3 years to hunting the unhuntable, quantum anomalies that defied every known law of physics. His latest experiment was different. Unlike previous attempts that yielded nothing more than background noise and statistical static, today's configuration felt alive. The quantum receiver, a delicate array of superconducting sensors and advanced neural network processors, hummed with an energy that made the tiny hairs on Rowan's arms stand on end. The impossible signal. "Systems online," Rowan murmured into his communication headset. His research partner, Dr. Emma Wrightsier, was monitoring remotely from the main facility in Santiago. Quantum array at maximum sensitivity. The desert around him seemed to hold its breath. Sophisticated equipment surrounded Rowan, massive satellite dishes, quantum entanglement detectors, and a central processing unit that could analyze quadrillions of data points per second. Yet for all this technological might, they were essentially listening, hoping to catch a whisper from the impossible. At precisely 1437 local time, everything changed. A signal emerged. Not a random burst of electromagnetic radiation. Not background cosmic noise. This was different. Structured. Deliberate. Mathematical in its precision, yet organic in its complexity. "Emma," Rowan's voice cracked, "are you seeing this? The first contact." The signal wasn't broadcasting. It was communicating. Each quantum fluctuation carried a pattern so intricate it seemed to pulse with intelligence. Mathematical sequences intertwined with what could only be described as linguistic structures, if language could exist beyond human comprehension. Rowan's hands trembled as he adjusted the receivers. The signal wasn't coming from any direction known to conventional science. It seemed to emerge simultaneously from everywhere and nowhere, a quantum paradox that challenged everything he understood about communication and dimensional existence. "It's responding," Emma's voice crackled through the headset. "The neural network is translating fragments. This isn't random. This is deliberate." The quantum receiver began to generate holographic projections, abstract geometric shapes that shifted and transformed with each incoming quantum packet. They weren't random images but seemed to represent complex multidimensional information. The revelation begins. One particular sequence caught Rowan's attention. A perfect fractal pattern that seemed to fold and unfold within itself, carrying what felt like an invitation. An invitation from where? From whom? The signal suggested awareness, not human, not terrestrial, but something profoundly different. "We're not alone," Rowan whispered. "And whatever is trying to communicate with us isn't using any method we've ever imagined." As the sun began to set over the Atacama, casting long shadows across the research station, Dr. Rowan Sinclair realized they had just crossed a threshold. Humanity was about to receive its first genuine message from beyond, a message that would challenge everything they knew about reality itself. The quantum signal continued its mysterious dance, waiting to be understood. The classified briefing. The International Space Research Facility hummed with controlled tension. Commander Elena Novak stood before a holographic display, her steel-gray eyes scanning the impossible data that had brought the world's top scientists together in absolute secrecy. "What we're looking at," she began, her voice cutting through the murmur of assembled experts, "is not a transmission. It's a conversation." The room fell silent. Dr. Rowan Sinclair's quantum recordings danced across the holographic projection, intricate patterns that seemed to breathe with an intelligence no algorithm could fully decode. Military analysts, quantum physicists, and cryptography experts exchanged bewildered glances. Decoding the impossible. Dr. Victor Lindholm, the facility's lead cryptanalyst, stepped forward. His hands moved across the holographic interface, peeling back layers of the quantum signal like an intricate digital dissection. "The signal doesn't follow any known communication protocol," he explained. "It's simultaneously a mathematical equation, a linguistic structure, and something else. Watch." The hologram shifted. What had appeared random now revealed subtle symmetries, patterns within patterns that suggested a complexity beyond human comprehension. "The frequency of consciousness. It's responding to observation," whispered Dr. Emma Wrightsier, who had been flown in from the Atacama Research Station. "Every time we analyze a segment, the signal subtly changes. It's almost as if it's learning, adapting." Commander Novak's military training battled with her scientific curiosity. This was beyond any threat assessment, beyond any classified protocol she'd ever encountered. This was first contact, but not in any way humanity had imagined. Quantum entanglement and awareness. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, a quantum entanglement specialist, noticed something extraordinary. The signal didn't just carry information, it seemed to be information itself. "It's not broadcasting," Tanaka explained, "it's existing. The signal doesn't transmit data, it is data. A living, evolving communication that exists in multiple states simultaneously. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just a message from another civilization. This was potentially a form of consciousness entirely alien to human understanding. The hidden invitation. As night fell over the research facility, the quantum signal continued its mesmerizing dance. Commander Novak noticed something that sent a chill down her spine. Hidden within the complex geometric patterns was what could only be described as an invitation. Not a geographic coordinate. Not a mathematical equation. Something more profound, a dimensional resonance that seemed to pulse with an intent both alien and strangely familiar. "We're being asked something," she murmured, more to herself than to the room full of experts. "But the question itself is beyond our current ability to comprehend." The quantum signal continued its mysterious conversation, waiting. Watching. Inviting. And humanity was just beginning to listen. The quantum vessel. Lieutenant Kai Zhang gripped the navigation console of the experimental research vessel Horizon, his muscles tense with anticipation. This was no ordinary mission. Every system on board had been specifically designed to interact with the quantum signal that had consumed the world's scientific community for months. The vessel hung in a carefully calculated position, suspended between Earth's orbit and the unknown. Specialized quantum resonance shields surrounded the craft, creating a bubble of modified reality that defied conventional physics. The harmonic convergence. Quantum resonance at 87%, reported Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the vessel's lead physicist. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces that pulsed with living, breathing data. "The signal is responding to our approach." Outside the vessel's reinforced windows, space itself seemed to ripple. Not a visual distortion, but something deeper, a fundamental shift in the fabric of dimensional existence. Lieutenant Zhang watched in awe as mathematical patterns began to form in the void around them. Geometric shapes that were simultaneously two-dimensional and infinite, creating a language of pure information that transcended human perception. The dimensional bridge. "We're not just observing," Zhang realized, "we're becoming part of the communication." The quantum signal that had first been detected in the Atacama Desert was no longer a distant transmission. It was a living network, a consciousness that was actively reaching out, creating connection points across dimensional boundaries. Dr. Rodriguez's voice cracked with excitement. "The signal is creating a dimensional bridge. It's not just communicating, it's constructing a pathway. The threshold of perception." Suddenly, the vessel's systems began to shift. Instruments that had been meticulously calibrated started to display impossible readings. Mathematical equations began to write themselves across display screens, forming complex patterns that seemed to breathe with their own intelligence. "We're crossing a threshold," Zhang whispered, feeling something fundamental changing within his own perception. The quantum signal was no longer external. It was becoming internal. Each crew member experienced a simultaneous expansion of consciousness, a moment of connection that transcended individual experience. The invitation. Images began to form. Not on screens, not as holographic projections, but directly within the minds of the crew. Landscapes of pure information. Dimensions folding and unfolding. A communication that was less about words and more about pure, unfiltered understanding. "We're being invited," Dr. Rodriguez breathed, "to see beyond seeing." The vessel itself seemed to become transparent, its physical boundaries dissolving into the quantum network. Lieutenant Zhang felt his consciousness expanding, merging with something vast and incomprehensible. They were no longer observers. They were participants in a conversation that existed beyond human understanding, a bridge between known reality and the infinite possibilities of existence. The quantum signal continued its mesmerizing dance, waiting. Inviting. Transforming.